Have you ever watched a television show in which the main protagonist has a tough decision to make, and then all of a sudden an angel version of himself pops up on one shoulder and then a devil version of himself pops up on the other shoulder, and he's sitting there trying to decide which one he's going to go with? Well, that is an allegory for the three parts of you that create your wholeness. And you might want to stick around for the third part because it might reveal who you truly are. Welcome, brave explorers, traveling heroes, and powerful creators to this infinitely expansive present moment co-created by you and me to explore the transformative power of experiential truths, consciousness, and oneness. Welcome back, brother. We are on episode 07 of the Healing Porn Addiction series, and this is going to be a continuation of 06 where I talked about the three truths that'll set you free. And we're going to continue with truth 1 and truth 2, that you are the observer of your thoughts, emotions, actions, and reality, and that you choose your thoughts, emotions, and actions to create your reality. Because once we get into the stance of observation and choice, we detach ourselves from our thinking mind, we then can start to navigate through our thought process to start to find out what are the thoughts that are causing me to suffer, to experience pain, shame, guilt, anger, fear, and then what are the thoughts that are causing me to feel love and joy and connection. So when we look at this, there is a sacred trinity inside of you. And this sacred trinity is called a lot of different things. The New Age would call this the mind, the body, and the spirit. Christian religion would call this the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Now, I want to bring into your awareness that the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit is also an allegory for the sacred trinity inside of you. The Father is consciousness. Consciousness is the thinking, the awareness, right? That you are a thinking individual. And there's a collective consciousness. There's an all is mind consciousness, which is God and everything inside of it. And then there's the individualized portion of consciousness that is you. Then we have the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit is energy, the unseen. And when we look at physics has already proven that this reality, or illusion for purists, that we find ourselves in is all energy. And when you have this consciousness and energy, and they have a baby, then we create the sun, or the body. And the sun is both the energy formed into this physical form with the consciousness, the thinking mind, to be able to create the life that that person wants to be able to create. So for the sake of this video, I'm going to define the sacred trinity as the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, and the superconscious mind. The reason why I'm calling it this is that your mind is not in your brain. This is not true. Your mind is actually in every cell of your human body. Every part of your body is intelligent. And if you were to look at a map of your nervous system can actually show you that there are neurons that are firing in what the Eastern philosophy calls chakras, and that these neurons are intelligent and they are responsible for different parts of your thinking mind. Now, I'm not going to go too deep into this. You're welcome to go check out sources on this and also how you can see this in human biology and how it matches up to Eastern philosophy in this way. The first mind that I'm going to talk about is your conscious mind. Now, your conscious mind is your mind in which you are in an aware state. Watching this video, coincidentally, you're conscious with me, but your subconscious mind is also taking in information simultaneously. But the conscious mind is coming from an origin point of fear. And from its fear, it judges. It judges whether something is good or bad, right or wrong, and uses this filter throughout the experiences that you have in your life, but also uses this filter to be able to look out to other people's experiences and people individually and to judge them as being good or bad, right or wrong. And your conscious mind only wants to focus on what is good. So when you have experiences in life that you might consider bad or traumatic, painful, whatever that is, your conscious mind doesn't want to experience those things, so it likes to avoid those things. It likes to put those things to the side. but it does not mean that it hasn't registered into a part of your mind. Going back to the conscious mind coming from a place of fear, this fear is biological. It's programmed into you to protect you from harm. And your fear at the deepest level is the fear of death. So you can actually trace every single fear that you experience to either go back to a fear of death or a fear of living. Think about unworthiness. If you are afraid that you're unworthy, you are afraid that you're unworthy to live the life that you want to live. If you were to get stung by a bee, that bee is causing you some sort of physical harm. If you were allergic to bees, it might cause death. But if you were to stretch out that bee sting to the very origin of being afraid of bees, it's ultimately because you're afraid to die from this bee sting. So the conscious mind is really irrational. But what you could really think about it to sum it up is that it's irrational, but it's also logical, but it's also totally insane. It's totally insane because it only wants to experience one part of you. And if you only want to experience one part of you, you ultimately end up feeling fractured. You do not feel whole. So that's the conscious mind. Think about the conscious mind as the judgmental mind. Next, we have the subconscious mind. Now, your subconscious mind is really associated with your body. And your subconscious mind, you could also consider it to be a program. And from the time you're 0 to 7 years old, your subconscious mind is being programmed by external influences. Your parents, what they say to you, how they act, behave, what they believe. Your teachers, same thing. Society, right? Societal norms and standards, religious beliefs, all of these different things are things that you are intaking from outside sources, and that ultimately ends up becoming a baseline program for you. From the time you're 0 to 7 years old, your mind is in a state of theta. And when I say mind, I'm saying all of your minds is in a state of theta. Now, this is a frequency of brain waves that allows you to intake 3 times the information that you normally would from your conscious mind. So an example of this is you could have been, as a young boy, playing with your action figures, have Barney on the television, and your parents are arguing in the kitchen, and you are taking in all the information simultaneously at the same intensity, learning that quickly, creating a program that is your relating template when it comes to how you communicate, especially in relationships, which comes to the behaviors that you have. You're just mimicking the outside influence that's creating your behaviors. For myself, I remember when I was about 28, I started to say something. I started to say, man, I really don't want to end up like my father. Now, that was my conscious mind's way of saying, you're not going to end up like your father, but my subconscious program was actually telling me I was already acting like my father. Now, my father is not a bad man, but I wanted to be an individual man. I wanted to be in my own autonomy, and this was the first time I became aware of this programming. Now, there's ways that your subconscious mind shines. For instance, when you take one step forward, you activate 40 different muscles in your leg at the same time, just to take that one step. Now, if you were to consciously think about activating 40 different muscles at once, you would walk like a baby and get nowhere fast. And let's just call this being a choice as well. I'm choosing to walk. So when you think about a baby, the first time they walk, they're all stumbling, but then they choose to walk again, and they choose to walk again, and they choose to walk again, and eventually that baby can walk. And then you can actually start walking and have your conscious mind be somewhere else. So you can be walking down a sidewalk in a conscious, open, and aware conversation with a friend, but walk and not think about it at all. And that's where the subconscious mind shines. But this is where, when we become addicted to pornography, that we start getting in trouble with our conscious mind. Because ultimately, at some point, you made the choice to watch pornography. And then you made that choice again. And then you made that choice again. And then your subconscious mind took over that choice for you, just like walking, and started to run that choice on autopilot as a part of your program. And this is where we start to feel like we have no control over our addiction, or that we're powerless against our addiction, because we feel like we're not in control of it anymore, that I'm just watching pornography. I'm even telling myself not to watch pornography, but I keep watching pornography. Well, on the biological sense, your body and your subconscious mind in relation is addicted to biochemicals that are produced while watching pornography. Biochemicals like dopamine and oxytocin, especially when you orgasm. It is a massive flood of dopamine and oxytocin. And those chemicals become addictive. So not only do you have biologically your body addicted to these biochemicals that are a part of creating your subconscious program, but you have the choice that's creating that addiction. So this is a mental addiction in this way and a biological addiction to pornography based off of choice and the biochemicals that are elicited from the behavior. So as you've made this choice over time to watch pornography and it goes on autopilot, then you start to experience things called triggers, right? I'm being triggered to watch pornography. Well, underneath that trigger is a choice that you made. For myself, a trigger for me was when I was alone. So when I was alone and my ex-wife would leave, I was like, oh, I'm alone. That would trigger me to want to watch porn because at one point I became alone. I was alone in my basement. And because I was alone in my basement, it made me feel safe to make the choice to watch pornography. And then as that experience continued to happen over and over again, alone, trigger pornography, alone, trigger pornography, alone, trigger pornography, that choice is what created that autopilot of me watching pornography. So a lot of times when we are addicted to pornography, there are so many different triggers to watching pornography. Being alone might be one. Feeling stress might be one. Not going through a breakup, right? And having to deal with the emotional distress of that might be one. There are so many different ones, but it ultimately comes from our conscious mind judging something as being bad and then starting to avoid looking at it. Because your conscious mind, again, only wants to focus on what is good. So then it avoids what is bad. But then what happens is that starts running in the background and running your show. There is a quote from Carl Jung that sums this up perfectly. It says, until you make the unconscious, or let's say subconscious, conscious, it will rule your life and you will call it fate, as if you have no control over it. So that's the subconscious mind. And when we're starting to heal from pornography use, it's about going into the subconscious mind program and starting to find out where the choices that I have on autopilot that are creating the effect of me watching pornography, because your choice is cause. Choice is cause, as in you are the creator of the content that comes from that choice. Then there's an effect. The effect is, I'm going to watch pornography. Then pornography becomes a cause. The cause creating effect of feeling shame and guilt about watching the pornography. So cause and effect is a universal law that continues to happen over and over and over again. And there can be a cause for every effect, and a cause can also be an effect. I hope this is making sense. You kind of see this, how it's happening in your life. The third mind to discuss is the superconscious mind. Now, the superconscious mind, you could consider the mind of your morality, maybe, or you can consider it really coming from a place of love. So where the conscious mind is coming from a place of fear and protection, your superconscious mind is coming from a place of love and connection. And also, your superconscious mind has love as its virtues, and through that also wants to experience happiness and peace and connection. And it is not judgmental at all, right? It's something that truly just is. And not only is it, but it's the thing that makes you feel really good about who you are. There's debate in the world of whether a soul exists, which is why I'm using superconscious, because you can see this part of you. And this part of you is the part of you that's saying, hey, you know, you keep watching pornography, but it's really causing us a lot of pain. And I don't want to watch pornography. I want to experience love and connection with my partner, with my romantic partner. I want to experience love and connection with my friends. I want to be able to talk to them and be vulnerable with them and really discuss the things that I'm going through. That's the part of you that truly wants to connect and feel and experience love in your life. And it's not conditional love. It's unconditional love. So now let's bring in the allegory that you see in a lot of pop culture. So in pop culture, you'll see a TV show and the protagonist has a decision to make, right? And then like the head is here and then a little devil pops up on one shoulder and an angel pops up on the other shoulder. And in the middle, he's trying to choose and decide between which side. Well, in this sense, the devil represents the subconscious mind, but it's not really the devil. It's just the alliteration of what it's showing you. Hey, do this. It's pleasure. It's that instant gratification, right? And then on the other side is the angel. Well, this is the superconscious mind. The one that says, hey, do the right thing. Do the thing that really is going to come from a place of love. And in this, the head in the middle is the conscious mind observing the two choices and then choosing which one it wants to align through its own judgment of which one is going to be good or bad for what it wants to experience. So when you start to see, again, from the observing stance, detach from your thoughts, and then see these parts of you. Oh, I have a conscious mind that's judging. I have a superconscious mind that's coming from love. I have a subconscious mind that's coming from a program of the things that I've done in my past that's also influencing me to do a certain thing. And the hard part about this is when the program takes over, you will repeat doing things over and over again in pattern. This is what creates the addiction of pornography. Again, think about it like a program for a computer program. When you start up a computer, the program does certain things. It opens up, if you're on Windows, it opens up Windows, and then it has a couple of different other triggers to open up different things that are part of these programs that are running in the background. And then you as the user starts to consciously choose what programs you want to use based off the programs that are running right inside of that. Well, again, you are no different. You are a supercomputer. And unfortunately, we're not given the user's manual when we're born to the supercomputer, and that's what ends up causing us so much pain. That, plus the fact that we take on the belief systems from all external sources that actually aren't who we are, so then we don't feel like ourselves. We're not in our own autonomy and authenticity, and then we get lost, right, in potential pornography use or different things like codependency in relationships and being abandoned and being rejected and all of these different things that are coming from an inauthentic place inside of ourselves. So this is just giving you a open look at your internal world. And once you can start to see your internal world, maybe you won't see it as a cloud anymore. I call this the cloud of confusion, where it's like I got one voice telling me to do one thing. I got this incessant nagging voice that's telling me that I'm not good enough and to do other things. And it's just all confusing. But now start to think about them as three separate entities, your sacred trinity that makes up your wholeness. That from the observation point, I'm like, wow, I got this conscious mind that's just judging constantly, good or bad, good or bad. And then I've got my body's saying, hey, like, why don't you go and watch porn, or why don't you put in some of that nicotine, or, why don't you lash out at, your friend for being an asshole? And, there's these things, right? And then you got your superconscious mind that's like, hey man, I love you no matter what. And I'd really like to experience connection. So now you have these three circles. It's not just a cloud of confusion, boom, boom, boom. And from observation and choice, you can start to choose and align to the man that you ultimately want to be. And I'm going to go ahead and give you a news flash here that the man that you want to be is aligned with your superconscious. Because if you were aligned with your superconscious the entire time, you would not experience the pain and suffering of the addiction from your subconscious and the judgment of your conscious mind. So now that you have this to look at, you're starting to open up this pathway, because we're walking down this pathway to freedom from observation to choice, now seeing three different areas that we can choose from, and then aligning to the man we ultimately want to be, that highest version of yourself. And that's giving you the opportunity to start to reprogram that subconscious mind into your superconscious. And that's what we're going to discuss in the next lesson about how to download porn-free software. But I hope you can now see that the truth I've been telling you this entire time is being revealed to you, which is that you are all you need to be to set yourself free. If something deep inside of you resonated with today's topic, drop a question or comment below. It would be my honor to chat with you. Remember to share this video with just one person you desire to set free, because all it takes is one video, one message, one experience to awaken our collective birthright of freedom and the self-realization that we are all one.